Okay, so you finish your CELTA and you are solid, good, ready to go. Do some other courses, get some other certificates, and then you go for Delta or something of the like. And you feel, well, a little bit stretched, sharpened, mostly sleep deprived, but legit, like a legit teacher. And then you're just floating in this post-certification void and wondering to yourself, okay, what's next? And here's what no one tells you is that once you kind of tick those last boxes, there's no more map. There's no more modules. There's no more tutor feedback. There's no more portfolio. There's just you, your teaching practice, and this slightly uncomfortable realization that growth is now entirely in your hands. Welcome to the part of your career where frameworks don't lead anymore and you have to.
Hey there, it's Kelly, and if you're here for miracle fixes, shiny classroom hacks, or whatever today's buzzword is trending, yeah, not gonna happen. What you will get is real talk about English teaching, teacher training, and the chaos we actually deal with in ELT. So let's get into it.
So in this structured world of teacher development, maybe overly structured world of teacher development in ELT, who knows? But the early years, they feel safe. Like CELTA gives you the scaffold and you're good. And then you start doing little specializations and certificates and all sorts of little things in between. And then Delta or something of the like pushes you right to the edge of your ability, but keeps you still tethered to that syllabus and deadlines and tutor expectations. But it's very clear. You know what you need to do. And then once you've reached all of those milestones, you enter this phase that's both liberating, I mean, just emotionally, financially too, and disorienting. Because there's no next module, there's no clear progression checklist. It's just wide open and sometimes very overwhelming, let's be honest. And really, it's like now I'm the architect of my professional growth. Wait, who put me in charge? So, really, let's just start. We'll go from the shift. The big shift from checklist to a compass. And it's kind of a mindset shift as well. But we have to let go of this old structure. It's hard because it's just so comfortable. It's so comforting knowing exactly what we have to do. But most of us have been conditioned to think that we grow vertically, that we have to climb the ladder. We have to collect the certificates and then we add more lines to our CV and everything's going to be fine in our careers. But once you've got CELTA, Delta, whatever other things that I work with Cambridge, so those are the ones that I typically refer to. But once you've got all of those, you got a specialization, qualification here and there. That ladder starts to feel more like a dead end. It's like, just, it ends. There's nothing else. And it's not because you've reached the top. It's because the rest of the journey is not pre-built. And this is where the shift happens. So we have to follow a syllabus, and then now we have to follow curiosity. And we can't just tick boxes anymore. We have to start creating our own direction. And sometimes teachers don't know what to do. I know that I felt that. I was like, okay, and now what? So let's look at 4 ways. I've got my notes here. 4 ways that growth looks different after these frameworks that we're so accustomed to. So number 1, depth, not just scope. So early in your career, growth feels like collecting. I mean, this is a lot like language learning too, but it feels like collecting. We've got courses, we've got techniques, we've got activities, and then lesson types and all these things. And we're just collecting them and kind of putting them into our toolbox. But after a while, it's less about adding more and more about the tools that we have in the toolbox and how we can master using them for different things or in different ways. So it's less about stuffing more in and dealing with what we have. And for me, that meant taking, for example, taking a lesson that I taught dozens of times and deliberately teaching it in, I don't know, 4 or 5 different ways. And experimenting with sequence and interaction patterns and different types of materials and, just seeing what, well, in my mind, I always just want to see what breaks. I like to poke the bear. I want to see what, if I shake the tree, what's going to come out. So I want to see what breaks. But also you can see what works better. And here's the kicker. It's not just doing these things in isolation. It's talking about it. It's writing about it. It's podcasting about it because that's my preferred choice. I'm a chatty little girl. So I tend to have a little chatter about it. But it's sharing it with other teachers. So it's not just my growth. It feels like, I'm kind of helping other people like, hey, I tried this out and guess what happened? Sometimes it's very informal. Sometimes I don't record podcasts because I have to have time to do this, but hey. All right, 2. Another way, creating your own questions. Because we were always being questioned and now we have to be the ones that populate these questions. When there's no tutor handing you a set of aims or tasks, you have to invent your own inquiries. You're just like, well, I'm kind of curious about that. Wonder what would happen if. So right now, I'll give you an example of things that I might ask myself. Because this is very, very valid, very possible for me right now. How can I integrate AI into teacher training without losing the human element? I don't know. I got to experiment with that. But it's something that is rattling around in my brain. Another question. What would it look like to design a reading lesson that doesn't rely on comprehension questions at all? Okay, so I know because receptive skills is all about comprehension, but what if we didn't have any of that at all? Like, what would that look like? And would it be useful or not? Yeah. Things that just pop into my brain because, well, I'm a little crazy. But anyways, these questions then become my syllabus. I'll probably go the AI teacher training one just because it's more in my vein. But anyways, they drive my planning, my experimentation, my reflection, and unlike these official modules, there's like no pass or fail here. Like I'm not, I get a certificate, I get a little stamp. No. It's just discovery, like, okay, well, what could happen? And that's okay. 3, measuring growth in impact, not in qualifications. I know this is going to hurt for some people because they love padding their CVs, but after Delta, the question isn't what's my next course? It's how has my teaching actually changed? How many Delties or, passing Delta people have actually just sat there and reflected about it? Because sometimes I feel like, I haven't run a Delta course yet, but sometimes I feel like when people pass the certification, like, done, moving on. It's like, what? Wait a second. What changed? Okay. So anyways, do like things that you have to start questioning. Do my lessons respond more to what's happening in the room? Are my learners becoming more independent? If not, you're kind of holding them back. Is my material sharper, more intentional? If not, what was the qualification for? I'm just throwing these out there. I'm not judging anyone. Hey, I can judge myself, but not y'all. Sometimes the biggest growth is invisible on paper and your LinkedIn, but crystal clear when you see one very passive student from the past taking the lead in like group work, for example, Or when you look back at a year's worth of lesson notes and realize you've really cut out all the fluffy stuff and everything is just super on point and intentional. Do you take notes on your lessons? Just saying. Number 4, expanding sideways. So starting to do things like mentoring, training, rebuilding. Oof. Okay, so at this stage, growth is more horizontal as much as it is vertical. So if you start mentoring newer teachers, that's helpful because one's recycling some of the stuff that you go back to, but you're kind of expanding out into your little horizons there. You can run workshops for your teams, depending if you're working in school or if you have your own team, whatever. This one I personally love, dismantling your own approach to rebuild it with a fresh perspective, because I love to break things. I feel like I would really do well in one of those rooms. The rooms where you can just break things, like they give you a baseball bat or whatever instrument of destruction that you choose, and you can just break. I feel like that's me, metaphorically speaking. Anyways, okay. So this kind of growth, this horizontal growth, is all about reach. You're starting to influence people and not just kind of climbing higher and just putting things on your LinkedIn and CV, because at the end of the day, it's like, all right, you've got a lot, but then what are you doing with it? My own post-Delta reality, I had that floating feeling for a while, just floating, because I had a lot more time on my hands. And I always thought to myself, should I be doing something right now? But I didn't really know what. And then I realized my work, Kelly, this is only me, my work was no longer about finding the next qualification. And it was all about acting on my own challenges and creating like a professional ecosystem. Like, what am I going to create now that I have all of these things? Not that I can't do more. Clearly, I can do more. I can go back, get a master's if I wanted, like a PhD. It's very academic, but I'm not sure if I want to. Or I could, but I just want to create an ecosystem. I feel like I am in a space that I want to start creating. So when I was thinking back then. So I was thinking, well, I'm going to start building projects from scratch. I'm going to start collaborating internationally, which is completely unexpected and amazing. I love doing my international collaborations, and I've got like 3 or 4 that I do, and they're just like fantastic. I love them. I will never get rid of them. And it was completely unexpected, not something I was even on my radar. Saying yes to random experiments that they don't come with a certificate. It's just, okay, let's try it out and see how it goes. So here's some practical ways to navigate this. These are my suggestions. These are not the only suggestions, my suggestions, practical ways of navigating this kind of phase, which is scary, untethered. So things that you can do actually right now. Pick one aspect of your teaching to experiment with for a month. Take notes, make your own action research, get your little criteria of how you're going to assess what's going on, and do it for a month. Anybody can do anything for a month. Partner with a colleague to swap lesson observations focused on a shared inquiry. Be careful about your colleagues. They kind of have to be compatible with you, have the same mindset. You can get burned, but whatever. Someone you trust that's going to give you honest feedback, not just give you fluff. And you have to have a shared inquiry. So it has to be something that is tangible and that you both can focus on that and have the means to be able to focus on that and speak about it intelligently, but to each his own. But that's one suggestion. Start a small scale PD project. So start a blog, a podcast, a teacher reflection group. I don't care. Start something. See if you can start collaborating with people that would be interested in some sort of professional development. Or maybe choose a learner outcome to improve and track it over the term. So we're kind of somewhat at the beginning of the term. You could kind of track it until the next term. All I'm saying is if you're feeling a little aimless, after your Delta or some like higher qualifications, don't worry, you're not lost. You're just in a phase of growth that doesn't come with a pre-made workbook. And your curiosity is now your curriculum, which is very exciting because your reflection now becomes your assessment and your impact is now your certificate. Welcome. So, what's next? What question are you going to ask yourself? Because that question might just get you your new roadmap.
That's it for today. If you want more, I've got binge-worthy playlists right here on the channel. You can also grab some resources at kellypenningtonelt.com, Instagram at kellypenningtonelt, and yes, even LinkedIn, where I do my best impression of being professional. Links below. See you in the next one.